This is Kite Cutter TV with another presentation. We gotta talk about this. Okay, guys, tomorrow Joe Biden will sign an immigration executive order that will basically give amnesty to over 11 million undocumented immigrants. Okay, so he's basically planning a pathway to citizenship for 8 years for illegal immigrants in the country illegally. Now, this doesn't make any sense because basically you're just opening the floodgates for more illegal immigrants to come through. Also, what he wants to do is stop the border wall. Now, if you speak to most Border Patrol agents, they actually want a border wall. So why would a president go against the people of the Border Patrol and stop the border wall? Another thing that's happening is the Mexican cartels now knowing that Joe Biden is in office and Donald Trump is no longer in the way of them bringing their drugs and illegal immigrants across the border. They're basically running amok and stepping up efforts to push more drugs and more human smuggling across the border. Also, during a pandemic, why would you allow more refugees into the country? Joe Biden wants to take the limit from 15,000 per year to 125,000 refugees per year during the coronavirus pandemic. This pandemic is basically the start of the New World Order. Okay, PRC, problem, reaction, solution. These people will create a problem, wait for the reaction, then give the solution. When people are in so much pain, they're looking for anything out there, okay? And the hypocrisy runs deep. I don't agree with what happened when people stormed the nation's capital on January 6th, so I definitely don't agree with that. But Black Lives Matter was running amok for months, okay? And these people just got nominated for a Nobel Peace Award. Talk about hypocrisy. Check this out.
And happening tomorrow, President Biden is expected to sign several executive orders on immigration.
One of those orders the president plans to sign would establish a task force that would reunite families separated at the border with Mexico. The president is also expected to increase refugee admissions. He said in the past he wants to boost the number from 15,000 per year to 125,000 per year. However, many Republicans argued now is not the time to let new people in, especially during a pandemic. The president says he also would like to create an 8-year path to citizenship.
Calls from some in the media to deprogram Trump supporters, and comments like this from former CIA Director John Brennan. Watch.
And unfortunately, I think there has been this momentum that has been generated as a result of, unfortunately, the demagogic rhetoric of people that's just departed government, but also those who continue in the halls of Congress. And so I really do think that the law enforcement, Homeland Security, intelligence, and even the defense officials are doing everything possible to root out what seems to be a very, very serious and insidious threat to our democracy.
Joining us to discuss is Chad Wolf, a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation and former acting secretary of U.S. Department of Homeland Security under President Trump. Chad, thanks so much for coming on today. If you don't mind, just sort of react to the statement we've just heard by John Brennan, and also this call to sort of seek out and find violent extremists in the U.S.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security certainly has a role here, and I think the bulletin that they issued last week is part of their effort to make sure that they're communicating to the American people. I think what's interesting, though, about this bulletin is a lot of the political violence and a lot of the violent activity that we saw over the summer is hardly mentioned in this bulletin. So when we talk about violent activity trying to overthrow the government or trying to certainly target certain political actors, I think we not only need to look at the events of January the 6th, certainly, but look at what's been occurring in the country over the past 10 to 12 months. And so a lot of the activity that we saw over the summer, a lot of our political leaders did not, or I would say failed to comment, failed to condemn those actions over the summer. And so I think when we talk about political violence, and we talk about violent activity, we need to make sure that we're being very consistent, that we're calling out those that perhaps are on the far right, but also on the far left, and then everything in between. So hopefully as the department moves forward, they're not only looking at the events of January the 6th, but they're also looking at some of the violent events that occurred over the summer, making sure that those don't come back as well.
Yeah, I mean, you highlight this double standard, and for anyone who's been paying attention to what's going on and maybe not just watching, rosy news coverage of what's happening, you would have noticed that these protests had turned into riots in certain points, fiery but mostly peaceful. I mean, we saw the fire behind the reporter. And for anyone tuning in, we've been following and seeing these FBI arrests for the Capitol riot rioters, but you're wondering, where's the accountability for those who destroyed the small business in Kenosha, Wisconsin? Has the FBI found who's to blame for that? Why is there such a strict focus to get a response for January 6th? Rightly so, by the way, but not the other damage that we've seen.
Well, I certainly agree with you. I know during in the summer, going back to July, August, where at least from a Department of Homeland Security perspective, we were dealing with violent opportunists and criminals in Portland for over 90 different nights. Every night they were trying to break into a courthouse and assault law enforcement officials and others there. And it got some coverage, but not a lot. And so we were encouraging the FBI from a DHS perspective to investigate those individuals, investigate how they're being armed, who's financing them, and the like. And so, look, I think there has been some investigations into that. There's been some prosecutions into what occurred over the summer. I would like to have seen more. So I know the FBI is looking into that, but you're certainly right. There is certainly a trend at the FBI, Department of Justice, and others. They will go very aggressively on the events that we saw on January 6th. And again, as you said, rightfully so. But they need to make sure that they do that across the board in a very consistent manner. Because when you don't see that consistency, that, again, signals to other individuals and other groups that perhaps they can, again, do this type of violence with little repercussions. And so we need to send a signal to each and every group that's going to use violence to a means to an end, that they can't do that, and that law enforcement is going to investigate and prosecute where appropriate.
Yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. And speaking about looking ahead, let's talk about the border wall as well, and what that could look like under the Biden administration. Tell me about potentially your concerns you might have in regards to how the Biden administration is approaching our southern border.
Well, a couple of different ways. You mentioned the border wall system. I believe President Biden and the administration has stopped all construction on that border wall system. And that's unfortunate, because what I heard over the course of 4 years of visiting that southern border time and time again, the men and women of the Border Patrol were asking for an effective border wall system. They're looking for that impedance and denial. It helps them do their job better. So it's not only that physical infrastructure, but it's the roads, it's the camera, it's the lighting, it's the fiber optic cables, it's the whole system there that allows the Border Patrol, the men and women of the Border Patrol, to do their job more effectively. There are areas of the border that are very, very difficult to patrol. So we need to put up an effective border wall system that will actually push those wishing to come into the country illegally into areas that we want them to, and so that we're able to patrol them on our time, and gives us the advantage. And so you need to continue to put up that border wall system in strategic locations. We have been very clear over the last 4 years. We do not need that border wall along all 2,000 miles of that border. And so we need to continue to build in effective locations. And unfortunately, I think the current administration has decided, at least initially, to put a halt on all border wall construction.
All right. Chad Wolf joining us with his analysis here live on National Report. Chad, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, God bless. Peace.